For me, it's very much a reclaiming of my cyclical nature, of my ancestral maternal lineages. However, it can look so many different ways, and I'm going to be covering the physical, spiritual, ancestral, all that good stuff. We're going to start with the physical because I feel like that's where a lot of folks come into cyclical living, and it's a way of like honoring our bodies and also like relieving for a lot of folks who have wombs, like premenstrual symptoms and period symptoms. So in Chinese culture, like the period is one of the vital signs, and it's very much a reflection of where your health is at, where your nervous system is at. And I've really learned that in my journey of living cyclically myself. And I was receiving a bunch of like these physical symptoms, and it was really a reflection of how stressed I was in my life, how my nervous system was dysregulated. And honestly, like the biggest tip I can give anyone who is starting to do this journey is to incorporate some type of nervous system regulation. And this can look many different ways. One of the main ones I'll recommend is like a sustainable movement practice, especially one that's like more calming. So like a yin yoga practice, whether it's once a week or like twice a week or something like that, like it can be so helpful for your nervous system. I've also loved EFT tapping, and there's so many like videos out there that can guide you through that, and let me know if that's something that you might be interested in. That has been really helpful for regulating my nervous system. A lot of breathing, a lot of crying, and allowing myself to cry, allowing myself to feel. So yeah, working with a professional that you feel supported by in your journey of feeling emotions, because really the trauma that lives in our bodies, it's not just ours. It's also like we hold trauma from our ancestors, and I know that can be frustrating for some folks to hear. However, it's really up to us to decide how we move forward with this trauma, how we like change that trauma and like that bodily experience, that somatic experience that we hold in our body, how we change that into wisdom, how we change that into a lesson, to a form of courage, a form of confidence that we can move forward in our life. And yeah, like that's one of the biggest takeaways I've had from living cyclically. It's that we are nature at the end of the day. Like I feel like a lot of times we disconnect from nature because of just the way that society is built these days. And I mean, like you're watching this like on some form of video or platform, and really like we are nature. I'm just gonna keep reiterating that through this video because it is truth. Like we are built to live cyclically. It's why in the winter time when things are really slow, when like animals are hibernating, it's why we feel inclined often to spend a lot of time by ourselves, to be by ourselves, like go to bed earlier and things like that. And I think a lot of living cyclically is living with these seasons of, yes, like sometimes I need to be in more of a rest season, I need to be more grieving, I need to lean into my sadness, but in a way that's like supportive for me. And I think like living cyclically is showing us how each season has its own wisdom. And a lot of times like grief and sadness and like those things can be so overpowering. And I also speak from experience as someone who has had severe depression in many years ago. And yeah, if you're finding this and you're in this moment of like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I don't really know where to start. Like I want you to know that you have everything that you need within you, even if it doesn't seem that way right now. You hold all the wisdom that you need, and a lot of living cyclically is reclaiming that wisdom, reclaiming that our bodies already know the path, and it's up to us to choose every day with our autonomy. Yes, like I am here to continue living in my truth. I'm here to continue living in my abundance, and maybe I don't know what that means or what that looks like right now, but it's here. It resides within me, and I choose it every single day. Yeah, like that's one of the main like core tenets I feel of living cyclically for me, and I very much like advocate for that within the work that I do, within the offerings I provide. And I also like offer like ceremony for all life transitions, because in this day that we live in, like ceremony exists for these very rare occasions, and I think that isn't the case in all cultures, of course, but I think at least where I live in the West, like a lot of things, the things that are ceremonialized are very much like birthdays, birth, death, funerals, weddings, and I think it's so important to make space to honor everything that we feel is a core to our existence. And this can be anything from like you're moving cities, or you have just lost a pet or a loved one, or you're starting a new career and it feels really big and juicy, and you're like, I just want to make this ceremonialized and ritualized. And yeah, that's where I come in. Yeah, with my work as a medium, hosting ceremony, facilitating spaces for folks. And yeah, I just want people to be held in like their experiences and this life, because life is really like a beautiful thing when we allow it to be. For the menstrual cycle, like for those folks who have wombs, like when we begin to listen to all of these seasons of the self, like yeah, it can be this wisdom. Living cyclically is a reclamation of our own nature. Living cyclically is a homage, a like honoring of our ancestral lineages for those who have lived in seasonality. And yes, like many of us are able to go to the grocery store and get the same items year round. However, like even things like that often come up in like the readings that I do and the work that I do with folks, like having soups, having like foods and like forms of connecting with our lineages that are accessible in the everyday. This can look so different depending on like where you are in the world, and it's very like person specific, but like yeah, you are capable of connecting with the land no matter where you are. Like even if you're in a city or the country or anywhere in between, like having access to herbs that are connected to your lineages, whether you may know that or not, like it's up to you to explore on this journey, right? So like having a cup of tea that like resonates with your culture, like is something that maybe your grandmother used to drink or something like that, like having those forms of connecting to these plants that are connected to the land that we are from, dishes, like recipes, rituals, baths, things like that. Like these are all ways of living cyclically. I also want to talk about how the journey is ongoing, and living cyclically isn't a one and done situation. Isn't something you resolved within 30 days or like a week or something like that. It's really like committing to honoring all parts of yourself as the time moves forward in your life, and knowing that things will refine, things will fall into place with time. And I think that's also something that is a practice. Like it is a way of just like trusting the universe, and I think that can be very spiritual. Yeah, so this is a very unconventional way of like explaining cyclical living. However, like I found that living cyclically is so much more than the physical things that a lot of other people do talk about and are also important. Like yes, there's things like seed cycling, and I also use those things, tools sometimes. However, like living cyclically is ancestral, living cyclically is spiritual, it is a physical form of connection to the self, and like honoring everything that you are, everything that you hold. And yeah, I hope that this video sparks something within you. Maybe yeah, if like you're intrigued to know more about a specific thing I talked about, let me know in the comments. And I'm gonna be covering all seasons in a new course that I'm building, so definitely stay tuned for that. I'll link it as soon as it's up, and I'm so excited to share this wisdom with you all, because truly like I am here to provide tools and like ways of reflecting that will be applicable for you. So like I don't want to just like info dump a bunch of like information to you, because this really is a journey. It's a way of committing to yourself. I'm going to be providing you with all the tools to build like rituals and ways of living that are actually applicable for you and your journey. So yeah, I hope you found this helpful, and my name is Essie. I have all my offerings linked down below, and I will see you so soon. Bye.